Take a break from your busy schedule and join Harold Sala for Guidelines, a 5-minute commentary on living.
Toward the end of his life, David Livingstone, the great missionary, was brought back to his native Scotland to be honored by his countrymen and the University of Glasgow in particular. There was absolute silence as Livingstone told of his experiences in Africa, his left arm hanging limp at his side, the result of being mauled by a lion. He spoke of being felled by fever 30 times. He told of the various hardships he had gladly endured for the cause of Christ. Quoting the missionary-explorer, "But I return without misgivings and with great gladness. For would you like me to tell you what supported me through all the years of exile among people whose language I could not understand and whose attitude toward me was always uncertain and often hostile? It was this: Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. On those words I staked everything, and they never failed me. It is the word of a gentleman of the most strict and sacred honor, so there's an end to it." End quote. There's a sequel to his comments that make what he said even more meaningful. Livingstone did return, but eventually, however, his frail body failed. His native co-laborers found him slumped over the cot where the previous night he had knelt to pray. His well-worn New Testament was open to the same passage he had quoted to the university audience, Matthew 28:20. And in the margin beside the text, in his own hand was this notation: "The words of a gentleman." That phrase, "the words of a gentleman," means little to us in the context of the 21st century. But in Livingstone's day, when a gentleman gave his word, it was his honor at stake. The words of Jesus in Matthew 28:20 were Livingstone's life verse, one he literally staked his future upon and his well-being. Several questions bring into focus what Jesus said long ago. To whom was this said? Under what circumstances? And can we count on this promise today? The answer is simple. Jesus spoke those words to the disciples following his resurrection. He was about to return to his Father's home in heaven. He began by saying, "And lo, I am with you always." The force of the word translated "lo" or "surely" is this. Listen carefully, or pay attention to this. It's very important. Then he promised, "I am with you always to the end, the very end of the age." Always, you might ask, questioning that fact today. Literally, the text is saying, all your days. Personally, I like that better than the term always. Why? Life comes to us just one day at a time. Some are good days, some not so good. Some are filled with difficulty, hardship, some with suffering, some with leisure. But life comes in 24-hour segments, and from one day to the next, you're uncertain exactly what another day will bring. News of tragedy, heartache, surprise, joy, possibly gladness. He promised, however, to be there for you every day, no matter what happens. Is that valid, say, in the 21st century? Another New Testament book, Hebrews 13, reasserts the promise of Jesus, saying, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." And the text means not even for a moment. So you can believe and claim the promise that meant so much to David Livingstone.
You've just heard Dr. Harold Sala with Guidelines, a 5-minute commentary on living. If you would like to listen to the program again, download a copy, subscribe to our e-commentary, or view other resources, visit guidelines.org. We would like to hear from you, too. You can email us at info@guidelines.org. That's info@guidelines.org. Thanks for listening, and we invite you to join us again for the next edition of Guidelines.